Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivadhari Jaya Girivadhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivadhari Jaya Girivadhari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Tiravanachari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki, Sri Gauranitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The verse is not there. Okay. We are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, fifth canto, chapter 5, text number 34. No, 30. Yes, 34. We will first read word by word, and then you can also repeat. Evam, thus, go of the cows, mriga, deer, kaka, crows, charyaya, by the activities, vrajan, moving, tishtan, standing, ashina, sitting, sayanaha, lying down, kakamrika go charita, behaving exactly like the crows, deer and cows.
Behaving exactly like the crows, deer and cows.
Bibhati, drinks. Kadati, eats. Avamehati, passes urine. Sma, he did so. So then, context is very interesting, as we could hear from the words. We are in the chapter of King Trishabadev, teaching his sons, and then after teaching his sons, he's leaving, and then he's behaving like this. So I will read now the Sanskrit. Evango mrika kaka charaya vrajam stishtan asti sayana kaka mriga go charitra pribhati gadyati avedmati smaha. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki, Shri Gauranitai ki. Or translation: In this way, Lord Drishabadev followed the behavior of cows, deers, and crows. Sometimes he moved or walked, and sometimes he sat down in one place. Sometimes he lay down, behaving exactly like the cows, deer, and crows. In that way, he ate, drank, passed stool, and urine, and cheated the people in this way. The purport, being the supreme person, the supreme personality of Godhead, Lord Rishabhadev possessed a transcendental spiritual body. Since the general public could not appreciate his behavior and mystic yoga practice, they began to disturb him. To cheat them, he behaved like cows and deer. Namo Vishnu Krishna Krishnamati Srimati Katamakavana Samiti Namo Vishnu Krishna Krishnamati Srimati Bhaktivedanta Samiti Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Charini Shri Shri Bhani Pasatari Satari Om Agyanati Mirandasya Agyananchana Shalakaya Chaksu Tamrina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Chaitanya Radha Sri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So yeah, we can see that since many of you are here for this lecture and you didn't hear the whole content, I will summarize it shortly. So it's Lord Rishabhadev. He appeared in a big dynasty, and I will start a few generations before. I will start with Maharaj Priyavrata. He was asked by Lord Brahma to lord over the whole universe, because there was no one else available. First he didn't want to, but then Brahma finally convinced him that he needs to perform his duty, and as a duty of such a saintly person as a Raja or Rishi, he should take up the responsibility. So then finally he took up this task, and then he was ruling. And one funny story behind his pastime was that at one point he got upset why the night is dark, and he asked Surya to shine the whole time, day and night, and then he did not. Then he became upset with the sun, and so then he took up the role himself. So he took his chariot, and exactly on the opposite side of the sun, he was also riding with his chariot, and in this way he could make the nights not dark but also bright. So this is one of the famous story of Maharaj Priyavrata. And his wheels of the chariot, because he was riding always circumambulating Mount Meru. Then he made also the seven islands, which are then divided by the 7 oceans also. So like this, he formed actually quite an important part of our universe. And his son was Maharaj Agnidra, and his son was Maharaj Nabi. And Maharaj Nabi, he wanted to have a son, and he performed austerities. And then after many penances, Lord Vishnu appeared and asked him what he wants. And then King Nabi asked him that he wants to have a son exactly like him. And a person exactly like Vishnu is like Vishnu himself. So then finally he agreed to become his son, and eventually then Maharaj Nabi became his first son, was Maharaj Rishabhadev, who is a god himself, who is Vishnu himself. And Rishabhadev, so his life we are now discussing in this chapter and also in this text. And Lord Vishnu, he is aloof from all the material contamination, and his pastimes are transcendental. So in the first part of his life, he was an exemplary king. he was leading the whole material world or universe, and and he also had 100 sons, and he taught them about spiritual life, and and he was like exemplarist. He was very everyone was like looking up to him. He was the perfect ruler, the perfect saint, the perfect Raja, and also at the same time Rishi. And then his oldest son was Maharaj Bharat, and Maharaj Bharat, we know our planet Earth is named after him. The planet Earth is called nowadays Bharatvarsha, so it's named after him, after the son of King Trishabhadev. And then afterwards, I will tell a story how Maharaj Bharat, he got attached to a deer, and then afterwards became Jada Bharat. But now we will stick to King Trishabhadev. He was, in the first part of his life, he was very exemplarist, like easy to follow, easy to understand. And then after he finished all of his material duties that he like ruled the kingdom nicely, he begot 100 sons, and he taught his 100 sons about spiritual life. Then afterwards he decided to denounce the material world, and then he took quite some interesting steps, as we could hear how he behaved. In some verses before, we can hear that he accepted, or his behavior was the one of an avaduta. Avaduta means that he is not concerned about social customs, and so he was like wandering naked through the whole universe. He was behaving like he's dumb, he's an idiot, and all the people also thought of him that he's an idiot, and they were quite offensive towards him. But since King Trishabhadev, he was a perfectly realized soul. He was actually Krishna himself. He was not affected by all of this criticism, by all of these offenses. And here, in this verse, we can see how he behaved. He behaved exactly like the animals. He was living like the animals. He didn't care about anything, about any material comfort. And then the last sentence of this verse is like very interesting, and because it says, and he cheated the people in this way. So he was actually hiding something. He was hiding that he is God to himself, that he is a saint, that he is not attached to all the material to all the material comfort. And so we can see that his behavior is very difficult to understand. And so our Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, he also gave a nice lecture on this verse, and I have studied it a bit, and I want to read now some paragraphs from this. And it goes like this: that the first point which Srila Prabhupada makes is that that King Trishabhadev, as his behavior, he made a statement that as long as you only care about your material senses, you're not better like an animal. If you only care about food, about sleep, about mating, and about defending, we are exactly like the animals. So we can be a lower animal or a higher animal, but if we only care about these activities, we are basically an animal. There's no change. And then Srila Prabhupada quotes some verses. So our real activity is not just to please our material senses, but we need to engage these senses appropriate to our body. And since we have a human body, we can think and we can decide which activities we will perform. And the best way is for sure to be spiritually active. For example, to sit here and to hear Krishna Katha. So in this way, our ears and our senses of the mind and eyes, they are engaged in Krishna consciousness. Same as we take care of the temple, cleaning it, cooking, dressing the deities, and especially to distribute books of Krishna consciousness. This is the like topmost activity, because Krishna says whoever preaches his glories to someone else, he is very, very dear to him. So we have senses, and as if we don't engage our senses spiritually, then these senses are not better than the senses of an animal. And then Srila Prabhupada also quotes Narottam Das Thakur, who says that anyone who is above the bodily conception of life, he is liberated. So as long as we think that these senses, that this hand, that this legs is ours, and that we own them, and that we can do whatever we like for our pleasure, as long as we do this, then we are conditioned. But if we understand that we are not this body, that we have these senses or temporarily for this lifetime, but after this lifetime we will accept some other body with some different senses, with some different shape. If we understand this, that we are not this body, but that we are a spiritual soul, then we are liberated. So it's actually quite practical. As soon as we are still attached to our body, we are conditioned, and as soon as we realize that we are not this body, then we are liberated. And as long as we have this body, we have also senses, and we need to engage these senses. And we can engage them, and we can also controlling the senses is also very, very important, because our senses, they are so eager to be active. We want to touch something, we want to eat something. This probably everyone knows how strong the tongue is, that we want to eat so many things, but our body cannot handle all of it. So we need to control our senses. This is known in the material life, and also in the spiritual life. It is also very essential to control our senses. And Srila Prabhupada gives a very interesting example of Stalin, the great communist leader, how he was in controlling his senses. So we know that he was a big warrior. He did many big tasks, but if they're good or bad, he was quite cruel. But he could control his mind very, very strong. His mind was very focused. And Srila Prabhupada gives the example of him, how with his focused mind he could realize that he is not this body. or that he could control his senses. And he gives the example that once Stalin, he went through an operation, and they had to cut up his body and his intestines. And the doctor asked him if he should get anesthesia, and then he said no. Stalin wants to see exactly what is his body, and he could bear all the pain while they are cutting him open and doing the surgery. So we can also see that even on a material platform, one can control the senses to such an extent that someone can make an operation on your body while you are awake, and you can look at it. So if we use the same determination for spiritual life, that we are focused on spiritual life, we can achieve great task. And the greatest task is that we understand that we are not this body, and that we are our spiritual soul, and that we need to serve Krishna. This is our ultimate goal, that we understand who we are and who we are not. We are not this body, but we are our spiritual soul. Our identity is that of the soul. Our identity is not that of the passport. If we have Indian passport, Swiss passport, German passport, this is not our actual identity, but our identity is our spiritual soul. And with this identity, we also have tasks, we also have our duties to perform, and our ultimate duty is to serve Krishna. And to serve Krishna, the best way is to preach about his glories. And if we are fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, then one has no more bodily conception of life. So Krishna appeared, and he taught the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, he taught, "Who surrender unto me." But it's like many people didn't get the point how to surrender unto him. So then later onwards, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, and he taught us how to surrender unto Krishna. And on the altar on the left side we have Gaunitai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda, and their main mission is to spread Krishna consciousness, and this is they are teaching us how to spread Krishna consciousness. They are guiding us, they are helping us, and this is our actual duty of this whole life, to be engaged in Krishna conscious activities. So we have our body, we have our mind, and we have our words, and all of this needs to be engaged in Krishna consciousness. The most easy way how to engage is that we engage our body. We can, because the mind is so flickery, and our tongue is also so flickery, but the easiest way is to engage our body and do some practical service to Krishna, and in that way all the other steps will also follow. And it's interesting that it says here three aspects: the body, mind, and the words, because our sannyasis, they are tridandi, also sannyasis, and their vow is to engage all of these activities in the service of Krishna. So body, mind, and words, because our acharyas, their whole body, they are engaging in Krishna consciousness. They are engaging their body in devotional service. With their mind, they are always thinking about Krishna, and with their tongue, they are always teaching. So sannyasis, our sannyasis, they are called tridandi sannyasis, no ekadandi. They're called tridandi. because they engaged their body, their mind, and their words in preaching Krishna consciousness. And the first step, how to start, is to start with the body, to engage our body. And then Srila Prabhupada gives an example of the Mayavadis, because the Mayavadis, they try to merge ultimately and to give up their identity and their identity with the body. Their idea is to give the identity up. The ideas of them is that ultimately our body is also false and our senses are also false. So they are trying to stop everything. And their idea is, if you stop everything, then you are not anymore material. But then we ask them, if you're not material, what are you then? So Prabhupada gave us the positive side. He gave us not the neutral side, but he taught us how to engage our senses in a positive way in serving Krishna consciousness. Because our mind and our ultimately our soul always has desires, and desires, they need to be answered. If you don't answer them, you get frustrated. And we say also, even if the Mayavadis reach their goal of merging into Brahman, into oneness, then ultimately their soul, since their soul is a spiritual being, they always have desires, and these desires will get stronger, that they want to be engaged in something, and then they need to again accept a body to be engaged. So this liberation of merging into Brahman is not the ultimate goal. And the ultimate goal is to serve, is to engage our senses in Krishna consciousness. This is the positive engagement which Srila Prabhupada is talking about. And then here also quotes a nice verse: Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat paritvana nirmalam hrishikesha sevanam bhakti uchati. Bhakti or devotional service means engaging all of our senses in the service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master of all senses. When the spirit soul renders service unto the Supreme, there are two side effects. One is freed from material designations, and one's senses are purified simply by being employed in the service of the Lord. So if we engage our senses in devotional service, there are two side effects. The first side effect is that we understand that we are not this body, and the second side effect is that our senses are being purified. If we engage our senses in spiritual activities, our senses they get purified. In 5 minutes, the curtain will open, then you can have darshan again. So material activities means sense gratification, and spiritual activities means to carry out the orders of Krishna. And since we understand that we don't want to be entangled in this material world, but we want to be liberated, then we need to carry out the orders of Krishna. But how do we know what should we do? It is very important that we accept a teacher, a guru, a spiritual teacher, who is teaching us what to do. And we should go before the guru and ask him, what shall I do? Now kindly tell me what I shall do. That the guru is guiding us through our life. What shall we do? How shall we engage our life in Krishna consciousness? And Srila Prabhupada, he was so merciful that he translated so many books and taught us exactly how we should engage our life in Krishna consciousness. And we can also see from our Acharya that here's the example of Sanatana Goswami, that he went before his spiritual master, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he asked him, "What shall I do?" Before he submitted to himself, Sanatana Goswami was like very highly positioned or lawyer in the court of the ruler Master, how's it called? Master Hussein Shah. He was engaging in like with royal activities, and then ultimately he quit all of his duties, and then he went before his guru or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and asked him, "What shall I do?" And exactly like this, we should also accept a guru and then ask him, "What shall I do?" The best way what to do is to engage in Krishna consciousness, to engage our senses, our body in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, we will fall down. Srila Prabhupada is saying here. So coming back to the verse, we could see that Lord Rishabhadev, he was cheating the people in a way that he pretended to be like an idiot, and he behaved exactly like animals, even though he was actually Krishna himself, that he was fully spiritually realized, but he was cheating them. And now if you continue, the dynasty, his son was Maharaj Bharat, and he was also like perfect king. And then at the end of his life, Maharaj Bharat, he went to the forest to perform austerities and to finally quit his body and reach to perfection. Unfortunately, in the forest, he got attracted to a deer, and then because of this attraction to the deer, his mind was not focused on spiritual practices, but he was thinking always of the deer. He was attracted by the deer. He was caring for him. He was feeding, and so much that at the end of his life, when he actually quit his body, he was thinking not on Krishna but on the deer. Unfortunately, so. As in the Bhagavad Gita says, at the moment of death, when you give up your body, the state of mind will determine then your next body. So the subtle body is carrying the soul into the next gross body, and because his mind was focused on the deer, thinking how the deer will survive after he passes on. Then he had to accept the body of a deer because he was thinking of the deer. But Krishna was like kind of merciful to him, that while he was in the body of the deer, he could remember his previous life. He could remember everything, that he almost reached to perfection, but because of his attachment to a deer, he got now the body of a deer. Sri Jagannath Baladev Savatra Maharani ki, Sri Gauranitai ki. And and then after he had this body of a deer, he took again birth in the human form of life, and then he was called Jada Bharat. And then he could again would remember everything what happened from his past two lives. That first he was Maharaj Bharat, and then he was the deer, and now he is Jada Bharat. So he was actually also fully realized from birth, but then he was like very scared. What shall I do now in this lifetime to not do the same mistake again? So he decided to from the start of his life to behave in a very weird way, so that he won't get attached to anything, that no one will get attachment to him, and that he will not get attached to anything and to anyone. So Jada Bharat, he behaved like an idiot, and Yeah, and he was also cheating the like public in this way, because actually he was a fully realized soul, but he cheated and pretended to be an idiot until he like reached King Udrahugana, and he asked Jadabard if he can help out to like carry his palanquin, and then Jadabard he pretended to be an idiot, so he just did whatever they asked him. But he was a fully realized soul, and he didn't want to harm anyone. So he saw some ants on the floor, and then he couldn't walk straight over it, but he was waiting until all the ants passed, and only then he was walking over. Or he was also trying not to step on them. So the king on the palanquin, he was not happy with his service because he was quite shaky, it was slow, and then he was chastising him, or Jadabharat, and then Jadabharat, he at this point he decided to reveal his spiritual knowledge, and then he instructed King Udrahugana about spiritual life, and then ultimately King Udrahugana accepted Jadabharat as his spiritual master, because he could understand who he actually is. And if we now compare the lives of Jadabharat and the life of King Odrishabhadev, who are like kind of connected because of the lineage, then we can see that there are some like parallels. That first, Drishabhadev, he was also a perfect king, and then in his second part, he was renouncing from his kingdom in a quite extreme manner, and his son Maharaj Bharat, he was also doing basically the same. He was perfectly ruling the kingdom, and then at the end of his life, he was renouncing it. He was living in a forest, but he made one mistake, that he got still attached to a deer. And then at the next life, he decided, okay, let me be more extreme. Let me be like behave like an idiot and don't get attached to anything and to anyone. And then ultimately, he also reached to perfection. And so we can see that in the first part of your life, you should perform your duties nicely and be also engaged in Krishna consciousness. While King Drishabhadev was ruling the king, he was always preaching spiritual life. He was teaching his sons. He was teaching the whole kingdom about spiritual life, about spiritual practice. And then at the end of his life, he put it actually into practice, that he would renounce everything. And we should also have this life schedule, that at the first part of our lives we perform our duties to get education, to go to build up a family, to get offspring, and then what we should not miss out, that at some point that we would renounce again, and we put our whole time and effort into the spiritual practice, as we could see now on the example of King Drishabhadev, and on the example of his son Maharaj Bharat, how important it is to focus also on the second part, because ultimately the point of death, which is in the second part mostly, that this will define your next destination. And so nowadays in the modern society, they extend the first part of life to enjoy in the material world until the end, and then they don't even enter, or they don't even think, or they don't even know about the second part, that you should renounce everything and focus on spiritual practice. But we can see on these two examples how important it is to ultimately to renounce everything and to fully dedicate your lives unto spiritual practice. And if you decide that you don't need to go through all this, through all the first part, you can also straight enter into the second part and stay a brahmachari, that you don't get entangled with the material life, but to fully focus from your use on our spiritual life. And this is called brahmacharya, that you don't focus on the material life. And and then here the conclusion is on Srila Prabhupada's lecture. So he's saying, maybe I will just read. So we have to cease their activities and shall consider such activities that they are not better than the activities of the crows, the cows, and other animals. These activities have no value, as the cow, the hogs, and the dogs, they are engaged they are engaged the whole day. But these activities have no value. The human form of life are not meant for these activities. Their purpose is to make these activities and the activities of the crows and cows and lower animals only Krishna conscious activities. How to serve Krishna. This is bona fide. This is our road to life. So we should engage our senses in serving Krishna. The easiest way is to serve Krishna in the temple, to engage in the temple service, to either like practically or to give the fruits of your work, the fruits of your work, which is nowadays Lakshmi, that you can also, if you donate to the temple, you make also spiritual activities, because all of your actions which you performed to get your Lakshmi, your money, if you offer your money towards Krishna, then all of these activities, they are also automatically purified. And this is very, very powerful, and this is one of the easiest way how to engage in Krishna consciousness, that you take the result of your activities, which is money, and you donate it, and that you donate it to Krishna. So, do you have any comments and questions? Yes, Yamuna.
Thank you so much for your lecture. I found it very beautiful how you navigated us through the lecture and also explained the contextual so that we have everything in mind. What I wanted to ask is on the point on becoming focused.
Mm-hmm.
I see myself very often quite spaced out. Also how you're able to accomplish or finish things very nicely. So I wanted to ask what you would suggest to us to not be so spaced out anymore.
Mm-hmm.
To really have this in mind, how important it is to focus on one thing.
Yeah, so for me it is the most important to have a clear goal. If you have a clear goal, you can make a plan how to reach your goal. There's a saying: if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And today morning I was doing Shila Puja, and on the altar it is like very, very, very important that you finish on time, because in Krishna, he has a very tight schedule. He is a busy man, and he wants to give darshan exactly at 7 a.m. So you need to focus that at 7 a.m. everything needs to be done. And while you're doing your puja, and you think of, this is so nice, let me focus more on this, but you actually forget your goal, that you need to finish at 7, because ultimately you're not doing the puja towards you because you like it, but you're doing the puja for Krishna, and like Krishna, he likes to be ready at 7. He doesn't want to be ready later. So we should have a goal, and then make a plan how to reach this goal. We could also we can see like Rishabhadev, he had a goal to while giving up his body to not be attached to anything, and then he had this plan, and then he put this plan into practice. He was renouncing everything, and he took the extreme path. He was like making very, very sure to not be attached. And then his son Maharaj Bharat, there we can see that he had a plan, but he got distracted. But then Maharaj Bharat, he didn't give up and said, "Oh no, anyway, I will do something else." No, he again focused. So if you have a failure, don't give up. But if you have a failure, then they make a new plan. Plan again your life according to the new situations. Like Maharaj Bharat is in his form of deer. He also had the goal to reach to perfection, and we can read that also in the form of his deer. He was always associating with the sages. He was going to their houses, trying to get some association. So he had his life plan in his mind, and he was putting it into practice. And then on his later and in his next life as Jada Bharat, he was putting it again into practice. He was again focusing. This is my goal, to reach to perfection. And then he said, okay, since I failed last time, I need to make some changes. I need to adjust my plan. I need to adjust my strategy. And then ultimately he met his goal. He was successful. Any other comments? Questions?
How do we get the goal?
How do we get the goal? Yes, the goal is that we take up, that we find a bona fide spiritual master. And a bona fide spiritual master is someone who is not saying himself that from now on I will be as spiritual master. Give me money and I will bless you. A bona fide spiritual master is someone who is in the disciplic succession, that he also has a guru, and he's in the whole line of spiritual masters. They are in a parampara, in an authorized parampara, and that the most important quality of a guru is that he is not changing anything, because if he is in an appropriate parampara and he is not changing anything, then you are sure that you get the teaching as it is. That's why Srila Prabhupada's teaching are so potent, because he didn't change anything, and he called his Bhagavad Gita as it is. So we need to find a bona fide spiritual master, and then ask him what to do, and then we can find our goal. What is our ultimately goal? And Srila Prabhupada, he wrote many books, and we can also purchase them. They are now available in this month of the book distribution. It is very powerful, very auspicious to get some. Afterwards, we can show you which books we have available. They are all written by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, and translated from Sanskrit into English with the commentaries of the parampara, and then he also added his ones, and it's very, very nicely was structured. He gives the Devanagari, then like word by word, the translation, and then a purport. So in this way, we can find a bona fide spiritual master, and Srila Prabhupada is a bona fide spiritual master, and he's very accessible by his books. And if we read his books, then we can find out what is our goal, and we can also find out what is our way, how to reach this goal. Anything from you? Okay. Thank you very much for your attention. Kantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki.